We're now doing a comprehensive guide for households and businesses with respect to the solar panel tax incentive, which was first made known to South Africans during the budget speech at the start of the year. What is the objective of the incentive? Who can claim it? What can be claimed? What are the requirements for the incentive? How do you go about it? To discuss this, I'm speaking to attorneys at tax consulting SA, Delano Abdoll, as well as Micaela Paschini. Delano and Micaela, thank you so much for joining me on the Business Hour. Well, let's get into, the tax breaks for the installation of solar panels for households and businesses. What do these tax breaks entail? I think people are often hearing about it in the media space, but they're not necessarily clear on what does it actually entail.
I think the first thing to recognize is that during the budget speech earlier this year, the Minister of Finance made mention of two tax incentives relating to renewable energy. The first one is in respect of rooftop solar panels which are installed by individuals, and that is a new tax incentive. In other words, this will be newly introduced into the law books. When it comes to the renewable energy tax incentive for businesses, that is an extension of existing laws which have already catered previously for businesses to claim an incentive. I think further than that, one of the key differences which the public should note is that the tax incentive for individuals is limited to solar PV panels themselves, and it takes the form of a tax credit or a tax rebate. In other words, it reduces a taxpayer's tax liability. When you are discussing the incentive in the context for businesses, we are not limited to solar PV panels. It's actually broader than solar energy itself. For example, wind power or biomass comprising of certain waste or plant material. And that incentive is in the form of a deduction. So it reduces a business's taxable income when calculating what the end tax liability would be.
Wow, thank you so much for that clarification, Delano. Well, what is the qualifying criteria for the tax break or the deduction, i.e. the fine print?
So when it comes to the solar energy tax credit for individuals, the qualifying criteria are, first of all, that the solar panels must be new and unused, and then also the panels must have a generation capacity of a minimum of 275 watts per panel. In addition, the panels must be installed at a residence that is used mainly by an individual for domestic purposes, and a certificate of compliance must be issued in respect of the solar installation. That will need to be submitted to SARS as well when an individual wants to claim that credit. And then in the context of businesses, similarly to the individual credit, the panels or the assets that are installed for renewable energy generation purposes are similarly be new and unused, and the assets must also be owned by the taxpayer who is claiming the incentive.
Thank you so much, Micaela. How does one go about claiming the rebate or the deduction? I think Delano did touch on it in his first answer, but perhaps to expand on it a bit more.
So the first thing to note for individuals is that in terms of National Treasury's frequently asked questions guide, it mentions that individuals will be able to claim the rebate if they have, one, a VAT invoice that indicates the cost of the solar PV panels separately from other items, along with proof of payment, and number two, a certificate of compliance evidencing that the solar PV panels were brought into use for the first time in the period from 1 March 2023 to 29 February 2024, which is also reference to its window period being the current year of assessment.
Is there something else to be said about the window in which households and businesses can claim? I thought that there was a deadline of some sort.
For purposes of the window period, there is a distinction for individuals as well as for businesses. To put it simply, the window period for individuals spans over one tax year period. The window period for businesses spans over a period of 2 tax years.
That's tax consulting SA attorneys Delano Abdoll and Micaela Paschini getting into the fine print regarding the renewable energy tax incentives for households and for businesses. Some interesting facts there. There is another part of our conversation coming up right after your business of the day. Stay tuned.